I've been trying to recreate this picture for like 2 minutes and I just can't take myself seriously.
Yep, that's me.
Hello, beautiful bookish people. My name is Hannah, and today we have read 3 dark academia books, and I kind of just want to sit down and talk to you about it. And if you're wondering what is dark academia, you're in luck because I have a definition just ready for you. According to Urban Dictionary, only the most credible source, dark academia is an aesthetic that is inspired by old classic literature / philosophy, as well as themes of existentialism and death, and then in parentheses, which is my favorite, essentially a knowledgeable vintage emo. Perfect. Example. Wow, look at her blazer and those Oxford flats. She's totally emulating the dark academia aesthetic. So basically Harry Potter, but only the Slytherins and Ravenclaws. But recently there has been a trend of dark academia. Oh my gosh, you can see my dog's nose. But recently there has been a trend of dark academia kind of coming back into conversations, and I kind of want to put the blame on that because of Ninth House. And because of the excitement of Ninth House, there was like this list of like companion read-alike reads, and that's what I have done today, is I have read 3 dark academia books, and we're going to sit down and talk about them. Let us go. The first one, possibly the classic one that emulates the dark academia aesthetic, is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is my second Donna Tartt book, and wasn't my favorite. But before we jump into that, this is about this guy named Richard, and he is from California, and he kind of wants to change things up. So he moves to Vermont to go to school, and Richard has always studied the Greek language in high school. He's pretty good at it, and when he starts to want to get involved in the Greek classes, he realizes he can't, and it's this very pretentious group with this charismatic professor, until Richard is able to prove himself and join this very prestigious, very well, almost cult-like group, and they have finally welcomed him into the group. It's very shady, it's filled with a lot of drugs and alcohol and murder. If you like How to Get Away with Murder, it definitely has Secret History vibes. Now, before we get into personal opinions, I do want to say that Donna Tartt is a good writer. There was like a couple things that I marked that I was like, oh, this is genius. It's very well done. Oh, see, we have some notes taken. And so I was, for a while, very much enjoying The Secret History. That being said, I do want to say it was a letdown. The video before this was why Twilight is better than The Secret History, and a lot of my opinions are stated in that, where a lot of this book felt like a build-up for nothing. So like there was so many opportunities to, like, in my opinion, push these characters, execute this plot in a better way. I think this book is kind of like a dichotomy of itself, because I think it wants to point out like why academia is troubled or why school sucks, but it never actually does that. It just becomes what it hates. And what I mean by that is, like, I find it so weird because, like, essentially this book should be for the everyman, right? And how academic systems are bad, or how people get away with stuff that they shouldn't. But it's never been accessible for like public in general because it's so dense, it's so hard to get through, and I find it ironic that it's kind of supposed to be talking to those people, but the way it tells its story is so uppity and like so inaccessible for so many people, in my opinion. I mean, I think what's so sad about The Secret History is I was really enjoying it in the beginning, and I was like, oh, there's finally going to be a build-up, but none of that feels achieved, or I feel worth it to get to the end, because in the end it's kind of very much repetitive, and Donna Tartt repeats herself a lot. And I think like at the surface this book is about the characters, but when I don't like them or there's not enough characterization done with them, I don't really care. They more felt like, because at the end of the day I think they felt more like caricatures of what Donna Tartt was trying to represent, because she never, in my opinion, fully developed them. And for me, being a character person, that's like key. Like, I didn't care what happened at the end to these characters. And because, like, I think because they lost their mystery, some of the glamour or the glitz of their character were lost to me in an effort. I have a very long quotation about Chaucer. And, like, I'm usually here for that. Again, English major, but I don't know, I just feel like she didn't lay the groundwork enough for me to care. I have such a hard time with The Secret History because I think it could have potentially been one of my favorites. But there were so many elements that like felt like a build-up to fall flat that I just ended up not liking it. Hi, we'll go back to regular scheduling programming right after this quick commercial break. Quick question, do you love Six the Musical? Of course you do. Do you also love BookTube? Of course you are, you're watching my channel. Well, here's a solution for the perfect combination of the two. The Six the Musical Readathon. It's a 2-week-long readathon going from November 8th to the 17th. And are you wondering, well, what are the challenges for such a cool readathon? Well, I'm glad you asked. For Catherine of Aragon, it's read the first book in a series. For Boleyn, read a scandalous book, because, you know, Boleyn is quite the controversial figure. For Seymour, read a book with a strong female/maternal figure. For Cleves, read a book that features something you love about yourself. With Howard, read a book with a complicated/unconventional love situation. And Parr, read a book involving education. As mentioned, I will have the Twitter link in the description. I'm really excited about this readathon, and I hope you can join us. Alright. Back to dark academia, Hannah. Yes. So, the next one I read, you can already tell I'm just like a little happier, is If We Were Villains. And I buddy read this with my friends Rhiannon and Cindy. I'll put them in the description because they're great people and I had a fun time discussing it with them. So, If We Were Villains is another dark academia book. And this follows, instead of a Greek group, a Shakespeare theater, almost cult-ish like group. And we start off this novel and Oliver, who is our main protagonist, has just gotten out of prison, and the guy who has arrested him is retiring, and he's like, hey Oliver, I know you got arrested under some fishy situation, so can you like just tell me like the true story? Like, I'm retired, no one can tell, I just like am dying to know what happened. And so you get told this story of Oliver in 5 acts, which is really cool because that's a Shakespeare play. And it starts out with this college, and it's a very tight-knit group of theater kids. Someone in the group gets murdered. Bum, bum, bum. We love pretentious kids murdering in our literature. And so I like this one way more. It might have to do with all the Shakespeare references. So it was really fun to like pick apart the plays that they were in and how that applied to their current situation. There's a guy who plays Caesar, and you know, it really felt like a love letter to the theater. My favorite thing about this book was just, I think it's in Act 4 where the private detective is asking like, do you blame Shakespeare for like what happened? Because, you know, we obviously know that the group murdered someone. And I was like, I blame him for everything. And he goes like, if you can say it poetically, you can justify anything. And I loved that discussion of morality. I felt like there was more consequences to people's actions in this dark academia book. And then there's like a true Shakespearean love triangle, which I loved. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars, mostly because at the end I felt like a little cheated. I'm not gonna say it felt anticlimactic, I just felt confused. It was very like open-ended, but not in the way I like. So, the last book that I want to talk about is the beloved Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Ninth House is about a girl named Alex, and she gets recruited into Yale because she has a skill that the alumni require for a certain cult that is involved in the Yale academia. Ninth House is what she's recruited for, and it's kind of the, I want to say like the candor of the cults, meaning they keep everyone else in check. And it's a dual timeline, and we're kind of learning information as we go about our main protagonist, about her teacher who's been telling her about all these things. He goes missing, and let me tell you, Darlington is my everything. He is Gansey in college. Like, no one can convince me otherwise. There's something about boys who love things unapologetic that just are just so sweet and endearing to me. So in Ninth House there are two timelines, and in the first one we're kind of just unraveling Yale and the occult and all that stuff, and there's also kind of a murder mystery in the first half, and to be honest, it was very interesting conceptually, but reading it kind of dragged on. I was like, I feel like I'm doing Western civilization homework but on magic, because there was like a lot of foundation for the next book, and I think it's all gonna come back. But what I've come to realize, at least about Leigh Bardugo, is her first books are setups, and you get the payoff for the next one. That's why Crooked Kingdom is better than Six of Crows, because Six of Crows is set up for the payoff in Crooked Kingdom. And I think that's what's going to happen in Ninth House, because this one, for me, was hard to get through. It's so tightly plotted. I think it's Leigh's best work, but really, sometimes it dragged. I still really enjoyed it. I just think I'm going to be way more hyped for the second one, because this is like the Middle Ages, where it's like you need to learn about the Middle Ages to enjoy the Renaissance. You know what I mean? Like, that's this book. This book is the Middle Ages. Still interesting, but not as interesting as the Renaissance are gonna be, you know? But that concludes this video. I hope you found it a little interesting going through the different types of dark academia. What if I had to pick a favorite? I think none of them got 5 stars, so I'm still looking for my perfect dark academia book. But I think it's a toss-up between Ninth House and If We Were Villains, because those were. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Keep reading and all that jazz. Wow. I'm just like not a good note taker. Let's see. For Howard, read a book with a, oh my gosh. And she gets recruited because she's not like other girls. I'm just kidding. Strong friendship. What? Strong friendship. Goodbye, lady. And Howard, read a book with a complicated, such unconventional love. Because I love Shakespeare. Hold on. This is actually my Shakespeare collection. Okay, so let's take that out, Hannah. I know that sounds really nerdy, but I loved it.